Hi, I'm Michelle and I'm the marketing manager of the Beta Birdwood, and today I'm with Paul Rees, the director of the National Motor Museum. How are you going?
I'm good, thank you.
That's good. You've taken me to your favourite motorbike in the collection. What is this?
Well, look, when I was young, I used to ride Vespas in the UK, and that's where my stupid accent comes from. So I used to ride scooters, and so I love the scooter section of the National Motor Museum. And this is a 1954 DKW. It's a German, so it's a German-made vehicle. Whereas Italy is more renowned for Lambrettas and Vespas, but in most of Europe is experimenting with some kind of scooter or not. So I thought I'd bring you to something that I'm familiar with, which is scooter life. And it's a gorgeous vehicle. It's 1954, so this would be eligible for the Beta Birdwood Run. Yeah. And if I had the chance, I would ride this in the Beta Birdwood Run.
I like the colour. It's really cool.
It's gorgeous, isn't it? Yeah. Look, I mean, it's a beautiful. It's beautiful design. Again, it's still got that sort of rounded shape. You know, I guess being the Motor Museum director, a lot of people ask me that question, what's my favourite? And I don't really have a favourite. I can't have a favourite, but what I can say is my experience. And I tend to go towards the runts of the litters. So in cars, that's 2CVs, the Citroën de Chevreuse. They're very odd vehicles. And Vespas. And, you know, I know some people don't even think they're motorbikes. You know, they're not classed as that. They're hairdryers on wheels, as they might call them. But, you know, but I love them. I just love the shape. I love the history. I love the design.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we see a few scooters in the Beta Birdwood this year.
Yeah, I hope so too. Yeah.
So what is your role in the Beta Birdwood as the museum director?
Yep. Look, my role is quite large and extensive across the whole of the Beta Birdwood. So I have a brief across everything really, and but I have some focus areas, which is marketing with you, and also the route management and traffic management is a very key area of the Beta Birdwood. So I keep a watching eye on how we're developing the plans around that. So. Yeah, but I'm pretty much responsible for everything that goes on with it. So
it's a very important job.
Absolutely.
So why do you think it's an important event? Why do you think we should celebrate historic motoring?
Why is the Beta Birdwood an important event? Well, it's definitely a historic event, and it's starting to develop its own history now because it's 38 years old. So one of the interesting things that happened, you know, as you know, most people that are following our page would know that the Beta Birdwood is a run, which is this year, which is in what you might call generally the older vehicles, veteran, vintage, post-war, early classic, and then you have in the odd ending years, you have the classic. So last year was the classic. Now last year we had vehicles were able to enter that were manufactured prior to December 1981. So that means last year in the Beta Birdwood Classic there were vehicles that in 1980, when the Beta Birdwood first started, were not even manufactured.
Yeah.
So I love it that an event has its own history.
Yeah.
And because it's a historic motoring event, it follows its own history. It follows history. And as history unfolds, as nostalgia turns into history for people, then we're capturing that as well with the classic, for instance. There are people who love 1984 DeLoreans. You know, they're not allowed into the Beta Birdwood yet, but you know that might change in the future. And so we're capturing history as it's moving along, and history does evolve. And so it's one of those things, and it's an iconic event. It is one of the great historic motoring events of the world. It's on people's bucket lists to do. It's got a great atmosphere. It's also got this lovely challenge embedded into it. So you start from the bay, you go through the city, we're tackling modern day traffic nowadays, and then you've got a hill climb, a reasonably long hill climb up to the Adelaide Hills. So inside the Beta Birdwood is still a challenge for older vehicles and for those enthusiasts who own them to get them ready and complete the Beta Birdwood. You know, that's part of its charm.
Yeah. So you've been involved in the Beta Birdwood for a few years now.
Yep.
Do you have a favourite memory from a previous year?
Oh yes, I do actually. There was one. I took my a vehicle that I have access to, a 1959 Vauxhall Victor, and I took that into a run. Actually, it was a run. Yeah, it was a Beta Birdwood run, because the Model A that we were going to use had failed on the Friday before. So I had to quickly find a vehicle, and it was one that was in my driveway. I took some guests in that who won a competition to enter the Beta Buddha, so they'd never been in the Beta Buddha. They were not collectors or enthusiasts. They were enthusiasts of motoring, but they didn't own anything. Yeah. About half an hour into the drive, I looked at the back seat, and they were both had their heads buried in their phone. And I sort of, we'd been waving to the crowds. There was all this sort of the joy of doing the Beta Buddha, the usual thing. I said, "What are you guys up to?" And they said, "Oh, we're on Gumtree." And I said, "What are you in Gumtree?" He said, "Yeah, we're looking for a vehicle to buy so we can do this event next year."
Oh, cool.
And it's like, that was one of my favourite moments. So it sort of just shows that when people actually do the Beta Birdwood, it's infectious. Yeah. You want to do it again, and you want to be part of the whole thing.
Yeah. So thinking about the next few years, or the future of the Beta Birdwood, where do you see it going? You're the director of the museum. Bigger picture things are probably up your alley. So
for sure, yeah. Well, we won't do anything without consulting. And we're always listening. So this year we've made a few changes because we've been listening to the owners of the older vehicles, that their vehicles and themselves sometimes are not quite up to the 70 odd kilometers of the run of the Beta Buddha run fully because of the new modern day traffic conditions, etc., and all these problems, and the problems that exist with older vehicles, etc. So we've introduced a second start, which is a shorter run for those vehicles. So there's always changes happening, and I think listening to what Beta Buddha entrants tell us is important, and making the event smoother and as much fun as possible, including that challenge, will be what we'll be doing. So I think the Beta Birdwood should grow. I want to see it more popular every year. We want to make sure it sustains itself as a tourist attraction. I'd like to see it on the international map, the national map and international map. Motoring enthusiasts around the country and motoring enthusiasts around the world should have this event on their bucket list. And that's our aim, is to get it that high profile that people will come along and do that.
Excellent. Well, on September 30th of this year, we hope to see a lot of people fulfilling their bucket list and hopefully seeing a couple of these scooters around as well.
Yeah.